Hi guys, how's everyone doing today? Hope you're all having a fantastic weekend. It's almost finished now. Today's story, The Smartest Giant in Town by Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler. George was a giant, the scruffiest giant in town. He always wore the same pair of old brown sandals and the same old patched up gown. You see, he's patched up. Look, got holes in it. He's put patches over it. I wish I wasn't the scruffiest giant in town, he said sadly. But one day, George noticed a new shop. It was full of smart clothes, so he bought a smart shirt, a smart pair of trousers, a smart belt, a smart stripy tie, some smart socks with diamonds up the sides, and a pair of smart shiny shoes. Now I'm the smartest giant in town, he said proudly. George left his old clothes behind in the shop. He was about to go home when he heard a sound. On the pavement stood a giraffe, who was sniffing sadly. What's the matter? Asked George. It's my neck, said the giraffe. It's so very long and so very cold. I wish I had a long warm scarf. Oh, poor giraffe. Giraffes have very long necks, don't they? His neck's cold. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his stripy tie. It didn't match my socks anyway, he said, as he wound it round and round the giraffe's neck. It made a wonderful scarf. Oh, thank you, said the giraffe. It's very nice, isn't it? Look, he's made a scarf for the giraffe out of his tie. As George strode towards home, he sang to himself, my tie's a scarf for a cold giraffe, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. Oh, it's nice. Oh, look what it says there. See that? Missing giraffe. There he is. George came to a river. On a boat stood a goat who was bleating loudly. What does bleating mean? You know what sound a goat makes? It's like a sheep. You hear that? Bleating. What's the matter? Asked George. It's my sail, said the goat. It blew away in a storm. I wish I had a strong new sail for my boat. Cheer up, said George, and he took off his new white shirt. It kept coming untucked anyway, he said, as he tied it to the mast of the goat's boat. It made a magnificent sail. Oh, thank you, said the goat. Look, it's the mast of the... That's the mast, sorry. It made a fantastic sail, his shirt. George strode on, singing to himself. My tie's a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town. Happy, isn't he, George? George came to a tiny ruined house. Beside the house stood a white mouse with lots of baby mice. They were all squeaking. Squeak, 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 squeak. What's the matter? Asked George. It's our house, squeaked the mother mouse. It burnt down and now we have nowhere to live. I wish we had a nice new house. Oh, they don't have a house. Look, they're all homeless. I'm standing there. "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his shiny shoes. "It was giving me blisters anyway," he said. As the mouse and her baby scrambled inside, the shoe made a perfect home for them. "Thank you," they squeaked. George had to hop along the road now, but he didn't mind. As he hopped, he sang to himself, "My tie's a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." Happy George. George came to a campsite. Beside a tent stood a fox, who was crying. "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's me sleeping bag," said the fox. "I dropped it in a puddle. I wish I had a warm sleeping bag." "Cheer up," said George, and he took off one of his socks with diamonds up the side. "It was tickling my toes anyway," he said, as the fox snuggled into it. "It made a very fine sleeping bag." "Oh, thank you," said the fox. George hopped on, singing to himself, "My tie's a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, but look me up and down, I'm the smartest giant in town." Sing along with me. Uh-oh. George came to a big squelchy bog. Beside the bog stood a dog who was howling. Is the dog howling? Like a wolf. "Oh!" "What's the matter?" asked George. "It's this bog," said the dog. "I need to get across, but I keep getting stuck in the mud. I wish there was a safe, dry path." He's falling over, look. He's got all his stuff for his picnic. Keeps getting stuck. "Cheer up," said George, and he took off his smart new belt. "It was squashing my tummy anyway," he said, as he laid it down over the bog. "It made an excellent path." "Oh, thank you," said the dog. The wind started to blow, but George didn't mind. He hopped on, singing to himself, "My tie's a scarf for a cold giraffe, my shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat, my shoe is a house for a little white mouse, one of my socks is a bed for a fox, my belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog, but..." Oh, look. You see his boxes. "My trousers are falling down. I'm the coldest giant in town." Suddenly George felt sad and shivery and not at all smart. He stood on one foot and thought, "I'll have to go back to the shop and buy some more clothes," he decided. He turned around and hopped all the way back to the shop. Oh, poor George. Oh. The page. But when he got there, it was closed. "Oh no! Oh no!" cried George as he sank down onto the doorstep. A tear ran down his nose. Oh, poor George. He felt as sad as all the animals he had met on his way home. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a bag with something familiar poking out of the top. George took a closer look. "My gown!" he yelled. "My dear old gown and sandals." George put them on. He felt wonderfully comfortable. "I'm the coziest giant in town," he cried, and danced back home along the road. Oh. Outside his front door stood all the animals he had helped. Look, it's the giraffe, the dog, the fox, the goat, and all the mice. Outside his front door stood all the animals he had helped. They were carrying an enormous present. "Come on, George," they said. "Open it." George untied the ribbon. Inside was a beautiful gold paper crown and a card. "Look inside the card, George," said the animals. George put the crown on his head and opened the card. Inside it said, "Your tie's a scarf for a cold giraffe." Let's try. You do all the animals, all right? Your tie's a scarf for a cold giraffe. Your shirt's on a boat as a sail for a goat. Your shoe is a house for a little white mouse. One of your socks is a bed for a fox. Your belt helped a dog who was crossing a bog. So here is a very fine crown to go with the sandals and gown of the kindest giant in town." A picture of George. Isn't that nice? And that's the end of the book. So what did we learn from this book today? I think there's lots of important lessons we can learn from this book. Now, the first one that I can think of immediately is to always be kind and help someone that's in need. Now, George had just bought his brand new clothes, but he helped so many animals just because they needed help. He didn't think that, oh no, these are my new clothes, I can't give them to you. Oh no, this person needs the things that I have more than I do, so I'm going to give them to this person. It was very nice of George, wasn't it? But what else did we learn? Now, he had his gown and his sandals. And what did he try to be? He tried to be the smartest giant in town. But was that him? It wasn't him, was it? He was trying to be someone that he's not. He was trying to be something that he's not. And he didn't feel comfortable doing it. And then when he found his old clothes, he felt so much more comfortable. So never try and be someone that you're not. What I'm trying to say is sometimes we'll see other people doing certain things. And inside our heads we think, should I really be doing that? I don't think that's right. Well, that's not me. If that's the case, then you should not follow it. Always be true to yourself. So those are 2 lessons I'm going to give you today. Always be true to yourself. Be who you are. Don't try and be somebody else. Everybody else is taken. Always be yourself. And always be kind. If you can help someone, always help. Hope you enjoyed the story today. If you liked the story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel for more stories. New story every day. And am I forgetting something? What do we always say? I think I'm forgetting something. Am I forgetting? That's right. Books are knowledge, and knowledge is power. Books are knowledge. Knowledge is power. Always read. Until next time, sweet dreams. Good night.